So once again, we're starting with a hot pan. Now notice, look, what's that that's coming out the pan?
Smoke.
There we go. As a matter of fact, what we have done is we have heated the oil to what we call the smoke point.
That's
The point
right?
at which is smoke.
And so different oils have different smoke points,
Different smoke points, exactly. One of the reasons that a lot of folks like to cook with peanut oil, and a lot of folks, some folks have nut allergies, so we've stopped using as much, is because peanut oil has a higher smoke point. That means we can heat it up faster. Okay. So now, we're using our Teflon pan.
See, if I had heated mine up properly, it would have sounded like that.
Sizzle.
But we'll get there.
We'll get there. And notice I'm laying them down so we can get some nice color. Mine are going to cook, not going to cook long.
Yeah, I'm going to add
and folks, if you think just because I'm cooking with my hands it's not hot, guess again.
The man's got Teflon hands.
I always tell the story, and Jeff Boobin, if you're watching this, you know I'm not lying. First cooking job I ever had, Brian, it was at the restaurant called Accidental Grill. And
Accidental?
The Occidental Grill,
okay.
As opposed to Oriental, the Occidental. Okay. And what they would do is when we first learned how to work the grill, they didn't allow us to use any tools. We had to use our hands to cook. So for the first 3 weeks you worked there, your fingers were numb.
Holy cow.
So to this day, I'm used to cooking with my fingers. Now, as you can start to see, these pieces are starting to brown.
Yeah.
This is where I go for the show off a little bit. And notice I'm making mine real thin. Oh, and we won't worry with that last little piece. Now notice mine have nice color. Yours are still going. It's okay. Yeah. I know. And I'm going to actually, because I told you mine is actually a very quick cooked dish. So we're just going to put the onions in. I've got some onions that did not julienne quite as well. Julienne. Right, I'm going to start tossing mine. Now, I don't want folks, everybody at home, to try doing it like this. There's one of the reasons that you tune in, so that you can take a look. And that's why I use a slope pan, so we can saute. The term or the word saute literally means to jump. So that's why you saw it really jumping out the pan. Yep.
I did not know that.
At this point, I'm going to add just a touch more salt and pepper because I know it needs it. Now, we want folks to realize that we are in a real home and we are in a real kitchen. We would like for you to notice our form-fitting tops to our pot. Hey, tell Brian actually had I was using this one at first. I had it upside down. I was like, come on, T, what are you doing? But meanwhile, while you're doing that, and you're still cooking.
Yeah, we want it to look a little good.
A little, make folks think we know what we're doing a little bit. I'm going to actually start some egg noodles here.
Okay.
And actually...
And that's what you're going to serve it over. Now, that's what I've traditionally seen it, like if you're in a restaurant.
It doesn't matter. You use whatever you want.
Well, it freaked me out the first time. Because I saw it, I'm like...
Freaked him out! Freaked him out!
It was totally different from what my mom made. I thought, there's no way I'm going to like this. This is horrible.
You always had yours with rice.
Yeah. Always.
Well,
and the meat was different, the flavor was different, it came with noodles. I'm like,
they don't know how to make it. That's because it's region. That's right. You know, you are from the heartland, from the Midwest. Now, for those who don't know, Brian, would you like to remind everyone where you're from?
I grew up in Iowa.
Grew up in Iowa.
Best state ever.
Okay. Grew up in Iowa. So out there, they probably would use more rice. Now, meanwhile, you got a little bit of caramelization color. And while that's going, the one thing that I would like for you to zoom in on here is you're going to be using bouillon when you make yours.
Right.
At a restaurant, I don't know if you can see it there. I'm actually going to try and make it flow. We have made here veal stock or reduced veal stock. And, you know, I told you before we're going to talk a little bit about a stock versus a broth because you can use those broths that you see, you know, by Swanson or every other person. And you know what? I actually missed a step here, but that's okay. We're going to incorporate it now. I meant to actually dust.
That's part of what I do.
That's right. I meant to actually dust the tender bits with a little flour first. With the fat and the flour cooking together, we would have made what's called a roux. This time we might end up with a little bit of lumps, just like Grandma used to make. Okay. But this is going to act as a thickener. Okay, we should have dusted the meat a little bit before. But don't worry. Okay. Now, if you take a look, our sauce is starting to thicken up already.
Now, because I'm going to add some cornstarch to do the same thing.
Cornstarch, you can do the same thing. And that's the part I want to show folks. And once again, professionals, we make mistakes too when we're rushing. I want to actually dust it with the flour with the fat. Cooked flour and fat forms what we call a roux, R-O-U-X, which is a thickener, okay? Thickening agent. Now, because I know what to do, we're not getting any lumpies, but look, it's already starting to thicken up.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. Oh, yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah. You know, in place of bouillon cubes, sometimes in a restaurant, you know, you can add a base, beef, chicken, fish, lobster, turkey, whatever, you know, protein to a water. It's just a little bit richer. Sometimes I'm using bouillon cubes. I like to use them in place of salt. When I'm making something with beef, why not add a beef salt to it?
Okay. Now, I usually mix some chicken bouillon to make my rice as well. So you can use that.
You can use this as well.
In place of any...
Wherever you would
Salt?
use salt, yeah, instead of salt. So,
Or flavor,
like if you were making your rice, like you said, put your water in, take some of the base, dissolve it right, or take some of the base, dissolve it right in there, and it's going to give you a more intense flavor.
Huh, okay.
But one of the herbs that we're going to use here is fresh thyme. And notice I'm not worrying about picking it, because as it cooks,
it's all just going to peel away, right?
The leaves are going to come right off, which is what we really want, and we'll just pick the stems out later on. Okay. But that's all we want. And one of the most important things I want folks to realize too is two things. You can use dry herbs if you want to. The ratio is 3 to 1 though. Dry herbs are 3 times more potent or concentrated than fresh herbs.
Okay.
So you would need to use 1/3 the amount of fresh herbs that you would use for dry herbs.
Okay.
Okay.
3 to 1.
Right. 3 to 1.
Dry, more intense.
Dry, more intense.
Okay.
Look at this, a nice, rich, heaping spoonful. And don't even waste your time with that light sour cream or no fat sour cream.
This is not
in
a
this dish,
diet
buddy.
meal.
Look at this. Every bit of fat that God
You're going
intended.
to splatter everywhere.
Right, man. That's right. That big old fatty wad of sour cream.
That's all you use?
Now I'm actually putting a little bit more on mine, just a little bit more. Yeah, but that's, once again, it's the difference. Like I said, this is a la stroganoff and the style of. And the reason I say that too is even though I told you those were egg noodles that I put in there, the actual terminology for this size noodle that we're using in Italian is tagliatelle. Tagliatelle.
Latelli.
Okay, there you go.
Got it.
So we have allowed our fresh herbs to steep. So we're going to pull them out. Another trick is, in a restaurant, we would actually tie them with string, butcher's twine, we call it, leave it in there where you can fish it out.
You could also wrap those up in the cheesecloth.
Exactly, and we call that a sachet. Not that kind of sachet, but sachet is in satchel. Okay.
I thought you were going all RuPaul on it.
No. So now we're going with a big.
That's a lot of noodles, man.
Hey, I was about to say I'm a big boy. Okay. So we're going with our tagliatelle. We'll move our noodles out of the way.
Let me get those out of the way of the camera.
And now for me, he always says I go fancy schmancy. Me, we're going to take our tenderloin tips. We're going to come around just a little bit on the outside.
Did you need a ladle?
I'm going to use it.
I'll rinse this off for you.
I'm going to come around, take our nice little tender tips.
See, perfectly placed all around.
And then, I told you that the sour cream was going to make a reappearance.
Oh, are you gonna dollop?
I'll give it a little dollop.
You're gonna dollop.
I'm gonna dollop. I'm gonna dollop.
I love dollops.
We're gonna dollop. I'm gonna dollop.
I have no doubt you're gonna dollop.
So, we add some of our sauce just so it flows right through the noodles.
You forgot one.
What, the sprig?
Yeah.
That's the character.
Oh, all right. That's garnish, right?
So we're coming around a little bit, just on top. Now, restaurants, you always see us wiping plates.
No, actually we don't.
That's
because
what
you
don't
do that
see, so
back
you do it in the back.
behind.
You're
I
right.
learned that.
You're right.
Okay.
So we're gonna take
If
a
you
nice
see someone
little
wiping a
dollop.
plate,
Yeah,
you got an
I'd
open
be
kitchen
scared.
or.
So we're coming with the dollop on top. And then mine is going to be garnished with something that you told me about earlier. I'm used to calling these gherkins. We have gherkins, these small, sweet little pickles. And you said your family, or they do something called a lime pickle.
When we canned them, they would be a cucumber. We'd slice it, and it would taste exactly the same, but we call them lime pickles.
And see, I've never heard that.
No?
See, we all learn. Now with the gherkin, slice it thinly. Just go with a nice little fan on the top.
Oh, check that. Now, see, we didn't ever do that.
Oh, that's okay.